VikesNow, I am Dustin Baker, and we are here to chat about the 9-2 Vikings who beat the Chicago Bears yesterday 30-27 in a game that I'm sure caused you some anguish, some thrill, and was, I think, oddly satisfying when it was all said and done. So this 9-2 team is on the brink of the postseason. We still got, a little over a month to go. But I want to go through some takeaways over the Vikings win over the Bears. And per usual, I've kind of ranked them. So we'll start at number 6 and rank our way up to number 1, which I consider the most important. So stick around with me for 15 minutes or so, and let's chat about Vikings over Bears. All right, so the first thing I was wrong about this. I thought the Vikings would lose, and it felt like they were going to there at the end. But it is like a edict or a religious thing that games at Soldier Field for these Vikings go that way. It's like it's mandatory for no matter what, the game is going to be kooky, or it's going to be sloppy, or it's going to be weird, or it's going to be stunning. And this game almost had all of that. It wasn't too sloppy, but it was almost, coughed away in one of those games that we'd remember for bad reasons for years. I just don't get it. I don't know about the voodoo in that venue. I hope they move to that new place sooner than later, and then when we get to that building, we don't have this bullshit anymore, because I just don't understand why. So the Vikings were 8-2 going into that game against the 4-6 Bears team. We knew they'd probably be better than what their record said, but anytime these teams square off in that building, there's going to be at least guaranteed chaos. Or if the Vikings win, it's going to be something like 19-13 or 13-7. When I, talk to non-Vikings fans or newcomers about the game at Soldier Field, I always say, whatever you take away from that game, you just put a huge asterisk on it, because it's not really indicative of either team, in my opinion, because it's the proverbial throw win and loss records out the window, and then let's just see what happens. And this game was no exception. As soon as that commentator guy, I don't remember if it was Daryl Johnson or the other dude, said, "Hey, no team has recovered an onside kick this year." As soon as he said that, you should have been like, "Here it comes," because it's going to happen. And of course it did. And it prolonged, like, so many things had to happen for the Bears to get back in that game. And it was like a script. You feared it in your head, and it happened. I've been asked a couple times in this job. I've been doing it for about, a little over almost 5 years now. What's the worst part of being a Vikings fan? And my answer, I've said this on video and in writing, is the worst part of being a Vikings fan is because this has happened before, the bad Viking stuff, you think of the awful situation in your head, and then it plays out in real time. And that's precisely what happened against the Bears and almost caused a loss. I was like, it's 24-10. What if they score? And they're going to find a way to get another touchdown, and they're going to have to get the onside kick, which they probably will, and they're going to have to get the field goal, which they probably will, and then it stopped because I was like, and they're probably going to win in overtime. It felt like the best case scenario at like 3:15 p.m. Central Time was a tie when they were going into overtime. So that's the only negative part of this episode, is a takeaway that Soldier Field is just write it on your calendar. It's going to have goofiness in the game. Now, thankfully, the Vikings have won 5 straight games at that building, if you can believe it. All right, the next one is the free agent class signed by Kwesi Adofo-Mensah continues to dazzle. I sometimes live in awe of where would this team be without these free agent contributors. And this one can be applied to the season on the whole, but especially yesterday's win. Sam Darnold, Aaron Jones, 100 yards and a touchdown. Van Ginkel had a sack and 7 tackles and 2 quarterback hits and a tackle for loss. Jonathan Grenard had the sweet, what do you have, 2 sacks? He had the one in overtime. That was mind-boggling from Caleb Williams. Blake Cashman yesterday. Stephon Gilmore on a couple pass breakups. I wonder where, remember when all the odds makers said, hey, this team's going to 6.5 wins, 7-10, and then I said, 7-10 as well? I didn't think that every single free agent would be a baller, and that has been the case. Now, if you strike out on a draft class like the 2022 draft class, as the Vikings did, you need impeccable free agent classes, and that's what they got here. But just think to yourself, What if one of these free agents or two of these free agents had been duds, like Marcus Davenport or something like that? This season, I don't know if it would be 9-2, but it's just absolutely marvelous that every dude that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah signed in March, and then in Gilmore's case in the summer, has played out and is like almost irreplaceable. So the continued emphasis and success of the free agent class bodes well for when we get to next offseason, because you're going to have to re-sign some of these guys or find a new class, if you want to keep up to this standard of living. All right, the next one. You should never get a big parade when you hit a 29-yard field goal to win a game, but you're a Viking fan, and I'm guessing there was about half of you, maybe 30% of you, that expected Parker Romo to shank that kick a la Blair Walsh, and then the game would either be in the Bears' hands to go win it, or we'd end up in a tie. But I kid you not, outside of the Ryan Longwell era, we went through about, 3 decades trying to figure out, will the Vikings ever get a kicker that I can trust? That's how you felt on game days. Ryan Longwell for 6 seasons? Yes, he did that. And then the other guys in patches, like Greg Joseph at times, certainly Blair Walsh the first 2 years. But we've never had a consistent stretch of kicking, and we shall see if we get that from Will Reichert henceforth. But all of a sudden, this snake-bitten kicking team has 2 kickers that appear to be quite good. Now, we haven't seen any range from Parker Romo yet, and we have one more game to do it if you assume Will Reichert will be back. But it's really fantastic that the team that has notorious kicking woes suddenly has 2 good kickers, to the point where, it's going to be kind of sad if we have to say goodbye to Parker Romo. You just don't usually keep 2 kickers, and Parker Romo deserves to go kick for another team because the Vikings already have their solution in Reichert. So a humongous tip of the cap to Parker Romo for, even though it was a chip shot field goal, We get it. Sometimes these guys miss these, especially when the game's on the line. Remember the Greg Joseph game against the Cardinals in 2021 in Arizona? It was the same. It was kind of funny. You know how yesterday when O'Connell just on second down or whatever it was opted to just kneel it and then have the kicker come in? That's the same thing we skewered and criticized Mike Zimmer for in that Cardinals game, because Greg Joseph ended up missing the field goal. You're supposed to step on the gas and try to score the touchdown. Don't leave it on the calf and the foot of a kicker. Well, Connell did the same thing, and there's no criticism because the guy hit the field goal like he should, just like Greg Joseph should have done against the Cardinals. So I can't say enough about how sweet it is to have 2 kickers that you can depend on. And when Will Reichert gets back, it'll be sweet to figure out where Parker Romo goes, so long it isn't the Packers or some shit. All right, the next one. After the bye week, the Vikings lost 2 games. A very respectable performance against the Lions at home. They lost, but they lose by 2, I think. Yeah, they were 2 minutes away from winning that game. They couldn't hold on. And then against the Rams, which wasn't quite as fun thanks to the Sam Darnold face mask. But after that, they've won 4 in a row. This has to be, not from me necessarily, but what I can gather from Vikings fans or social media, this has to be the least exciting 4-game win streak I have ever seen the Vikings have. I know it's probably because of the quality of win. You're playing against bad teams. The Colts are closer to mediocre than they are bad. Jaguars were not good. Titans were not good. And the Bears, they're probably going to be good when they get a good head coach. Maybe Ben Johnson from the Lions, and then Caleb develops. But the Vikings have won 4 games in a row, and we're all kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. Normally, we'd be really excited, like the 2017 season. Like, look at this winning streak. But for some reason, this one's just kind of different. The enthusiasm is muted, and maybe it's because Sam Darnold is the quarterback. I haven't quite put my finger on it. But normally, when your favorite football team wins 4 in a row after coming out of the bye week flat, you're elated. 9-2. Have a rubber stamp to the postseason. The defense ranks number 1 in the NFL per EPA per play and DVOA. But this recent 4-game win streak, we're all kind of like, oh, that's pretty cool. Normally we'd be elated. So that was one of my takeaways, is that most folks are kind of like, oh, yeah, they won another game that was kind of sloppy. That's just the way it goes sometimes, folks. All right, the second to last takeaway is, no matter how you dice it, if you are one of the folks that thinks that this team can get frisky, Sam Darnold can guide them through the postseason into the Super Bowl, or if you're one of those people that says this is probably going to end up in a one-and-done, Maybe they win a wild card round game and lose the second round. No matter what, they only really need one more win in the next 6 games to get there. They might even get in right now at 9-8 if they lost every single game henceforth. But that's where we're at. The team that was supposed to win 6 or 7 games per sportsbooks has already won 9 before Thanksgiving. This is like the same record they had in 2017. And all you need to have a postseason game in Kevin O'Connell's 3rd year, led by Sam Darnold, so long as he doesn't get injured, you just need one more win to get to 10, and I'm almost assured that a 10-7 record would get in the dance. Now, the NFC is deeper, and the AFC is crappy right now for the wild card race. But just imagine if we could have a portal to go back to the summer, especially that day J.J. McCarthy got hurt and all hope was lost. I think that was the same day that Addison was carted off from practice, and I should have had a takeaway about Addison. I'm going to have an extra one, and here we go. But think about how doomsday it felt. Let's see. What was it? I think it was like August 13th or something like that. Kyrie Jackson had died the month before. Kai Blackman was out for the season. J.J. McCarthy tore his meniscus. Jordan Addison was carted off. And we're all like, it's turning into one of those years, ain't it? Nope. They're 9-2 right before Thanksgiving. You really can't ask for more if you could stomach that the rookie quarterback was going to be on the shelf the entire year. And Sam Darnold, the guy that nobody really wanted in March, nobody believed in. They are 9-2 right now and cooking. All right, my addendum here is that Jordan Addison had the best game of his career. That guy is such a fabulous playmaker. Anytime a quarterback throws the ball at him, I swear good things happen. And a lot of it is to do with him personally. He's not, just catching the ball and in stride and just falling down. Kind of like Stephon Diggs used to do, although Diggs is and was marvelous. The one difference between Diggs and Jefferson to me, because they were traded for each other, is the playmaking aspect of Justin Jefferson and the yards after catch is always so much more grand to me than Stephon Diggs. And that's how I feel about Jordan Addison. He's such a playmaker when he gets the ball. Now, he didn't get it a whole lot in the first 10 weeks, 11 weeks. But I'm telling you keep throwing the ball at him, he finds a way to make something out of nothing a lot of the time. So, tip of the cap to Jordan Addison. All right, my most important takeaway, even though I said at the top of the show that most stuff that transpires at Soldier Field is, isn't really indicative, I'm going to have a special exception for that one. In overtime, against the Bears, when adversity had hit, everything was going wayward, bad for the Vikings, Sam Darnold stepped up and had a phenomenal drive. It was phenomenal play calling by Kevin O'Connell, but on the game's final drive, Sam Darnold was money. We have been fixated for the last 2.5 months on, hey, is he sustainable against the Jags? We're like, bottom fell out. He's never going to be good again. 3 picks in the red zone. This guy sucks. Can we put in Nick Mullins? Go sign Ryan Tannehill. And we were wondering if he would be able to sustain this pretty decent pace for all of the regular season. We hadn't even got to the postseason part, wondering if he'd have the gumption, the clutch gene, the juice to be a playoff contributor. Sunday at Chicago was a very good indicator that he can be that guy in the postseason. Now, I don't think his brain or his body knows that this was just the regular season against the lowly Bears, but on that final drive, when everything was stacked against the Vikings, the onside kick, oh my goodness, Darnold delivered. He connected with Aaron Jones, Justin Jefferson, T.J. Hawkinson, Jordan Addison, and that drive was tailor-made to eke out a win at one of your foremost rivals' houses. So I have wondered, all right, if we finish this season 11-6, 12-5, go on the road in the postseason, maybe beat the Cardinals, beat the Falcons, or beat the Seahawks or something, will Darnold have the stomach for a big-time playoff game in round 2 or the NFC title game? And we still have a long way to go. But watching what he did at Soldier Field in overtime when everything felt like it had gone rotten was fantastic. He was clutch. He was damn good. And so I think that bodes very well for the postseason, that Sam Darnold showed you, hey, at least in a 1-game sample, you need me to go win a game, I can do that. All right, that's all I got. I think, let's see. Wednesday, probably chat with Josh Fry. Talk to you guys then, and then be off for Thanksgiving, because that's not far away. All right, that's all I got. Skol, baby.